I'm Nick Westergaard, and this is On Brand, helping you tell your story. My guest this week is Regina Dowdell.
About 56% of LinkedIn members are coming to the platform to learn. It's why they're coming. So they want to, and even if they are members of this industry, even high-ranking members of this industry with tons of experience, they want to learn from brands and individuals. So the more you can teach people and actually show the benefit of how you can help them navigate all that's happening, that is something that really makes a brand stand out.
Regina Dowdell is a digital-minded marketing creative with an entrepreneurial spirit focused on helping individuals and companies change the world. Through effective communication, thought leadership, and a strong digital presence, Regina has supported forward-thinking organizations across all industries, from nonprofits to technology to startups, in spreading their messages and scaling over 15 years. As a content solutions consultant at LinkedIn, Regina helps organizations craft impactful content strategies that are creative, effective, and help them reach their business objectives. My interview with Regina Dowdell is coming right up. But first...
Raise the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Quick question. How confident are you that your content actually connects in every market? If you're guessing, it might be time to check out Phrase. Phrase is the industry-leading AI localization platform that helps you deliver content in multiple languages without losing your tone, your message, or your mind. It automates the manual work, slashes review time, and gives you real data on what's working where. Brands like Uber and Zendesk trust Phrase to scale their content across the globe and get it right every time. If you're serious about reaching more people and driving better results internationally, head over to phrase.com/MPN and take a look. That's phrase.com/MPN. Regina Dowdell, welcome to On Brand.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
You've described yourself as a digital-minded marketing creative with an entrepreneurial spirit.
A lot of words.
It's a lot. It's basically a triple threat. But what does all of that mean for you and kind of your brand story?
Yeah, I think for me, sometimes people can have one or two of those and not the other. So I thought it was really important to identify that, yes, I am digital minded, right? So we're thinking about how you come across digitally, and we're looking at the numbers and we're doing all the analytics and optimizing, but the creativity is there as well. And just really making sure that I'm aligned with the people that I'm working with, not just with their goals, but who they are, how they want their brand represented, and how we can bring that to the forefront creatively to reach those goals.
So you talk about bringing that to the forefront, and in your work as a content solutions consultant at LinkedIn, you help organizations do just that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you see in terms of brands getting right on LinkedIn right now and brands getting, well, not so right?
Yeah, we won't use the word wrong, right? Because that's the no word. So no W word. But I think, a lot of people are very hesitant to lean into their true brand story and really bring things forward in some of their marketing. LinkedIn is viewed as buttoned up, very suit and tie because most brands are using it for B2B approaches. But it really is one of those platforms where we do want the authenticity to shine. That is what people are looking for, specifically since COVID. People want to know more about the brand itself. How do they treat their employees? What are their philanthropic efforts? They're more willing to pay a premium if there's some degree of connection, and that can be aligned values or they like your CEO. So really making sure that the brands are bringing all of that authenticity and humanization of the brand forward. Those are the ones that are doing it well.
Thought leadership is a bit of a buzzword, and you're dealing with the real thing every day.
Mhm.
What makes someone, either an individual, a brand, a true thought leader on LinkedIn?
So it varies, right? If you're talking about the brand, it's a brand that is really showing that they have their finger on the pulse of the industry. So it could be economic shifts and they're helping their followers figure out how to navigate it. It could be, regulation changes. They're telling you how that impacts your work with them. So it really is teaching. We know that about 56% of LinkedIn members are coming to the platform to learn. It's why they're coming. So they want to, and even if they are members of this industry, even high ranking members of this industry with tons of experience, they want to learn from brands and individuals. So the more you can teach people and actually show the benefit of how you can help them navigate all that's happening, that is something that really makes a brand stand out as far as thought leadership. I think on the individual front, it's that authenticity piece combined with the teaching. And so there are these core archetypes that we see do very well on the LinkedIn platform when it comes to thought leadership. And one is probably the one you see the most. It is like the mentor. It's the person that's speaking about their work experience and helping with personal growth and career growth and things of that nature. And then you have the guide. This is someone who is kind of showing you how to use a particular brand product or service or solution, really doing like how-tos and questions and things of that nature. And then you have the one who is speaking all about the industry. Here are my trend aspirations. Here's what I think is going to happen. Here's what's happening now and how you can go through it. And then you kind of have like the company man, the person who's like, this is the best company in the world. Look at all of our philanthropic efforts. Look at what we did for our employees, those kinds of things. So the thought leadership, mainly, of course, people can be hybrid when it comes to these archetypes, but those are the four main archetypes we see do really well as far as thought leadership, and people who do it successfully kind of move around those four to really give the LinkedIn members what they're looking for and humanize their brand in the process.
Yeah, you talk about the archetypes,
Mhm.
and it makes me think of another favorite topic of yours and mine, and that's someone's story.
Mm.
And I think in terms of sharing that, sometimes we run into what you talked about earlier, that, ooh, professional, personal, what's the right mix?
Mhm.
How am I supposed to show up on LinkedIn? So how can personal brands, individuals navigate that?
Yeah, again, this is the authenticity piece. Again, you are going to hear me say that a million times. Just brace yourself. But it's the authenticity piece again, right? It is when you're giving this work advice and really bringing yourself forward in your thought leadership organically, who you are, what you've been through, life experiences, work experiences, et cetera, they're going to come through. And so, not to treat LinkedIn like some of the more strictly social platforms where went to a birthday party on Saturday. That's not necessarily strengthening your thought leadership presence and persona on the platform. But there's this woman who used to work at LinkedIn, and she does a fantastic job of balancing the two. She will speak about something she did with her kids and connect it to her work. Like the same approach that I take with my children is the same approach that I take with my work. It kind of shows you the type of leader she is. You get an idea of what it is like to work with her, work for her, how her mind works. She's humanizing herself and the brand that she works with. So I think it is allowing that organic mesh of personal and professional to come through. I know last year was my daughter's final year of high school before she headed into college, and I was traveling so much in the month of June. And anyone from New York knows a high school senior's month of June it's full of events and activities and prom and all of this kind of stuff. And so we were doing prom dress fittings via FaceTime while I was in an airport going to Toronto, things of that nature. And so on her prom day, when we got the photos back, I did do this really long post about how I was able to be there for her during this wild month, while professionally, I was also having a wild month, and the post went crazy. So like that's one of the ways too to kind of bring your real life into what you're going through and kind of thread the needle around how work and professional can work together.
Well, I think that's a great example too, because we sometimes hear the the cat poster advice of bring your whole self to work.
Yeah.
But we don't always give great examples of what that looks like.
Mm-hmm.
And as work itself looks differently these days, bringing XYZ to work may not be bringing something into a physical office.
Right.
So what does that look like where we are today? And maybe that's again, the airport FaceTime prom fitting.
It was a wild time. And I totally agree, because also bringing your whole self to work looks differently for everybody.
Yeah.
It could be there because some people are, I am compartmentalizing. That is that, this is this, and that's okay. But I do think naturally the way that you approach things outside of work are going to come into the way you approach your regular work, even if it's, I am very efficient because when we are done here, I'm going home and that's my thing. Or if it's, I am a mom of 5 and my multitasking skills are on 100. So give me all of the projects because I can balance them. Naturally, it's going to come through. And so I think it's up to people to figure out what does bringing your whole self even look like. But I do think once you are able to strike that balance, it makes things a lot easier across the board.
Well, and I think, talking about what things look like, I think the other changing piece of the landscape beyond what work looks like is what the social landscape looks like. Because I'll tread into dangerous waters of focus group of one.
Yeah.
But I know that I and others are sometimes aren't maybe as thrilled with the rest of social media as we once were. So I know personally, over the past couple of years, I've been enjoying spending more time on LinkedIn, whereas I used to maybe fall into that category of folks that's like, oh, I don't use it as much or the same way. But even the role that something like LinkedIn plays in our life, in our work, I feel like is changing too. Is that something that you're observing on the LinkedIn side of the table?
100%. It really started when we started topping the charts when it came to trust across social media platforms. Nobody wants to doom scroll on a platform where you have to figure out if what you're reading is even true or not. Or if you share your opinion, that you're going to get attacked. And so now you have to block yourself. And so because none of that happens on LinkedIn, not to say that we are perfect, but because that is not the experience that you are likely going to have on our platform, there has been more of a shift to come over, coupled with what we were saying earlier, this kind of blend of professional and personal. It does make it a more enjoyable experience and people get more from it. I know a teammate of mine just ran the London Marathon, and he was kind of keeping people up to date on how he was preparing for the marathon while also coming to New York for a week of meetings and, balancing the workload and managing a team and all of that kind of stuff. But then people were like, well, give me your training lineup. Like, tell me what you did, because now I want to run a marathon. So it is this blend of business and social network that I think people are appreciating as well.
On Brand will be right back after this.
Brace the rudders! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more to reach the professionals who are more likely to find your ad relevant. Plus, with 1 billion members on LinkedIn, that means you'll have access to 130 million decision makers and 10 million C-level executives. That's a lot of millions of the right people. Get started today and see how you can reach the right buyers with LinkedIn's enhanced targeting tools. We'll even give you a $100 credit on your next campaign. Go to linkedin.com/MPN to claim your credit. That's linkedin.com/MPN. linkedin.com/MPN. Terms and conditions apply.
Why does the United States pay higher drug prices than other countries? Because America's the only country in the world where 340B hospitals mark up drug prices and PBM middlemen charge billions in hidden fees. Meanwhile, Americans subsidize the research and development for new cures. Other countries benefit, but don't pay their fair share. Crack down on the middlemen. End the free riding. Lower drug prices. Go to balancethescales.org to learn more. Paid for by Pharma.
Now, back to the show. Like you said, I'm sure, there are things folks could poke at, but I guess until you said it, I'm sure there's people that do maybe doom scroll on LinkedIn, but, as so many of us are aware of the bad headspace that puts us in by the name of doom scrolling alone, but I don't know that is what I would call spending time on LinkedIn. And I think that space that we're classifying it in is pretty valuable, as you noted.
Yeah, 100%. So we have an internal research institute. It's called B2BI, and it's the Business to Business Institute. And they did a study to find out, why people are coming. That's why I knew that statistic about people coming to learn. So we know people aren't coming to LinkedIn to doom scroll. They are coming for very intentional purposes. They're coming to learn. They're coming to look for work. They're coming to share information. They're building a network and, building a community. And so you're absolutely correct. It's not the doom scroll platform. It is a platform with very strong intentionality. People want to get something out of it. And we've also done studies where people have said they felt better after being on LinkedIn for a while and actually getting what they came to the platform for. So I think those are key differentiators between that platform and other social platforms where you may not feel as jolly once you stop scrolling.
That was a very jolly way of saying that. So when we talk about personal brand building, what's something that, whether it is something right or, again, not the W word, but a mistake when you see people making in telling their own brand story on LinkedIn?
Yeah, so I'm saying the A word again, the authenticity. I promise people can sniff out BS. They can. And so you do want to make sure that what you're starting out with, the way that you're starting out, your voice, your tone, all of that is organic for a number of reasons. A, people can tell when it's not, but also B, you want to be able to sustain it, right? The real way to build your personal brand is to be consistent and keep it going. That becomes so much harder when you're being someone else, when that's not who you are. So you want to make sure that the authenticity is there from the start. In addition to the authenticity in your voice and tone, what you're speaking about. Is it what you really care about? Is it something that you will want to care about and speak about for a consistent period of time? Because if you're, of course, other topics will come up and you can bring them in, but your foundation is your foundation, right? And so if that's not really who you are, in 2 years, you're like, I don't care about that. I'm done with that. That's not really going to bring your audience with you. When it comes to things that people don't get quite right, I think is when they start to use LinkedIn as a diary. So they get a little too comfortable. And then there's lashing out I've seen lashing out at competitors. I've seen snarky remarks about others in the industry. That is not building thought leadership well. I've even seen brands do this. I actually had a thought leadership meeting with a brand out in San Francisco not too long ago. And their number one question was, how do we get this person to stop talking bad about us? It was the CEO of a competitor brand. And they were like, can we tell him to leave us alone? I was like, what is happening in this space? So those are some of the things I see wrong, where people get a little too comfortable or a little too provocative, and then it just turns others off from not just you as an individual, but also, as a brand or anything that you're representing.
So I'm going to see your continued reference of the authenticity A word and raise you to another A word that I wonder if there's a struggle between these A words.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm talking about AI and so many, hey, look, our content just got so much easier. We can have AI.
Yeah.
And that was the first thing I thought of when you said in your last authenticity reference that people can smell the BS. So how do we avoid giving off the smell of BS and still embrace AI?
Yeah, and its efficiency. And so I think this is something that we've delved into a lot, especially my team as the content solutions team, because we are the ones who are consulting with and advising our clients on how to leverage the platform well and efficiently. And of course, we've integrated a number of AI support tools. And so striking that balance is really important. A couple of ways that can be done: start off with yours. Even if it's just a blurb at the top of your head. I know if any of you go onto your LinkedIn profile right now, if you go to do a post at the bottom, it'll say rewrite with AI or, or recreate with AI. I don't know the exact wording, but start with yours, because that has your organic voice and tone. And then you can use AI to kind of maybe take out the ums or make sentences more concise or things of that nature. And then it's totally up to you whether you take those recommendations or not. So it can either be you starting with yours and then using AI to clean it up a little bit, or vice versa. A lot of the work that we do, we use AI kind of as a starting point, like a foundational part, and then you bring you into it. And so my colleagues laugh and say that, if I start it one way, then I reg it up, right? And I make it more Regina-fied. But that's how you can make sure that the efficiency of AI and how it can support you can blend with your authentic voice and tone. And so just making sure that whether you use AI or not, it still shows you and brings you forward.
I think there's something, and I can't kind of get past the joke of like our oldest tool being storytelling,
Yeah.
and our newest tool being AI. And like I said, I get the joke out of it, but I wonder about how these two things work together, because I think the danger is, if something if you don't take the extra step of regifying it, um, and or starting with you, and
Mhm.
if you're just kind of saying, I had Regina on the podcast write me a LinkedIn post,
Right.
instead of what you're saying, the start with you.
Mhm.
And even if it's not pretty,
Yeah.
the quick story of, I just talked to Regina. We talked about the changing landscape of LinkedIn. Authenticity came up a
A
lot.
lot.
Um, and putting as much of that in there. And it's also where I get like a little Pollyanna-ish about AI, because I think what we do with that first and oldest tool of
Yeah.
storytelling is kind of something it can't replace. I don't know if I talked myself into a circle here.
You have not. And if you have, we are in this circle together. Again, my team members will tell you I was the last one to adopt all of because they're like, this will help us do this and do that easier. And I was like, I have moral objections. I have creative objections. I have so much against this thing. And a lot of it really does stem from exactly what you said. We will lose the art of what we have naturally, what we have been doing for so long, which is storytelling, which is creating, which, there was a study, I don't know if you saw it, it came out recently, either yesterday or the day before, about how consistent usage of AI is essentially causing brain rot. Um, I'm gonna send it to you after,
Yeah.
but there is something that we want to keep sacred and we want to hold on to, that it feels like the misusage of AI will completely eradicate. Like it will just push it out the window. And so that's why I am here to preach the gospel of bring you first, or even at the end, or sandwich it. Start with you, leverage the AI, and then bring more of you in, because you don't want to lose that innate ability to tell a story your way, and to tell a story in your voice. And I do think that there is a possibility that can fall by the wayside with more and more introduction of AI into our everyday lives.
I wonder. I'm excited to see that data, because I do catch myself like when I'm trying to do the you first,
Mhm.
with the prompt, and I get sloppy with my writing.
Because you know
And
it's going to clean it up for you.
I know, and then, but then I'm scared, and the study has me more so, is because
Yeah.
if I don't take a moment and get that darn word right, even if it's an extra half second or
Right.
whatever small efficiency, I just wonder what that's doing to us.
Long
And
term. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah. That's
yeah,
why the study was fascinating, because, it seems like we're on the same playing fields, like as far as how we look at AI and things of that nature. So this was something that had come up to me before. It was like, if we continue to give AI 15% of our brain power, right? And we're like, okay, now you make it 100 for me. Are we going to become accustomed to only giving 15% of our brain power? Is that what's going to happen? And this study is essentially showing that yes, that is what's going to happen. And so I think it should be more widely spoken about, this study, but I also feel like it's something to push us forward. We just have to be more cognizant about it, right? There are a number of ways that AI can help us with the way that we're bringing our stories forward and pushing our creativity, but we can't get lazy with the foundational steps. We have to be able to make sure that we're maintaining our innate creativity and abilities and truly just using AI for optimization.
that's important. I think, and I'm also sitting here thinking with my academic hat on. We hear from and have for as long as I can remember, what's the biggest thing that you need from graduates, from employers? And it's critical thinking.
100%.
It's not, oh, we need to make sure their accounting skills are better and that, they know this, and this in Excel. It's critical thinking.
100%.
And that's sometimes a challenge to teach. And I wonder in this
I know.
increasingly AI-driven landscape, if we're having brain rot on top of that's going to impact
Yeah.
that as well.
I do not envy you academics and professors. I do not, because I don't, again, there was another video that came up a couple of days ago at some point this week where a young man was at his graduation, and at the graduation, he had a laptop showing how AI helped him pass all of his classes. And I was enraged, and I said, take his degree, like take it from him, make him redo. I don't know what you can do in that situation, but it's infuriating more because they don't realize the deficit they're putting themselves into by doing that. So like, yeah, your parents wanted A's and AI helped you get A's, but what exactly is going to happen once you get out there and can't remove yourself from flat thinking? That is what I call it when I'm speaking to my daughter, when it's like, this is a situation, and she's saying, okay, that's the situation. That's flat thinking to me. I said, no. What about this? What
Mm-hmm.
about this?
Mm-hmm.
Let's take it a little further. Let's make it blossom, whatever, but no flat thinking in this home. So
Yeah.
flat thinking is not going to get them very far. And I fear that blowback when they get into the real world is
Mm-hmm.
going to be incredibly detrimental.
Woof.
I know. Sad state of affairs.
Yeah, no. Well, and then I think a big picture too about young people and feeling disconnected at a time when we have these tools that theoretically are meant to connect us,
Yeah.
and trying to more proactively lean into connection as well.
Mhm.
And I hope we can do that. And that's why, of those two tools that we've talked about, I try to spend a little more time on the story side
Yeah,
of it.
as you should. I like that side. And you know what I think it is too with that connection, especially because they're on the phones, right? They are, my God, you can't get them out their hands. And so what I've been leaning into are the experiences. Let's have more experiences, because when it comes time to tell those stories, man, do you have some stories to tell? And so I would say my daughter came home from her first year of college at the top of May. We have gone out and done things, Broadway shows. We've traveled for a basketball game. We've gone to several concerts. Every week we are doing something, or we're just going to brunch to People Watch in Lower Manhattan. We're going to do things, because when it comes time for someone like you to say, all right, tell me your story or tell me a story, she has actual experiences to pull from, not regurgitated things from a technological device. She has it in her. So I do that to make sure that natural storytelling ability that we have doesn't die.
I love that, and almost on cue for a segue here. You've made me smile throughout this conversation.
Yay.
You could tell a story about a brand that has made you smile recently.
So I will tell a story about Pinkest Love. So, Pinkest Love is the brand of a very good friend of mine, and it was born out of her being in the music industry for a couple of decades and seeing the need for women to have support, and to create this community where women can learn from one another, grow with one another, all of that beautiful stuff. And so she had been doing small things for a while. She came out with merch. She would do speaking engagements, et cetera. Last year, she did a huge summit down at Samsung in the Meatpacking District in Manhattan. And now she is launching an interview series. And this interview series is about exactly that: women from different areas and different industries teaching, providing advice, and things of that nature. And so seeing her find all of these different avenues to share that information and really make the impact that she wants to make with empowering this group where she saw a gap and they weren't getting what they received has really warmed my heart. And I was the initial interview for the series, so that'll be coming out too. But I think, just seeing how she's evolved her brand to really meet people where they are. Do you like live events? Do you like virtual events? Do you like intimate keynotes? She's providing everything to really meet people where they are and stay true to her values and missions of her brand. So it makes me smile.
That is an awesome story and an awesome smile. Regina, where can folks go to learn more about who you are and what you do?
Well, of course, they can find me on LinkedIn. So yes, Regina Dowdell on LinkedIn. You will see me promoting video on the platform. You will see me laughing at good ads that I come across, and learning more about the balancing of work and personal. I said authenticity a bunch. I also live by it. If you read any of my posts, it will sound exactly the way I'm speaking to you now. So it's kind of an extension of this conversation. So find me on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, we will link up to all of that in our show notes, which folks can find at onbrandpodcast.com. Regina, thanks for being on brand with us.
Thank you so much for having me.
On Brand is part of the Marketing Podcast Network. If you like what you're hearing, if we've made you smile, you can always listen free on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, or whatever your favorite platform may be. And please take a moment and rate and review the podcast to help others find the show. Until next week, I'm Nick Westergaard, and I'll see you on the internet.
You may know you're listening to this show along the Marketing Podcast Network, but did you know there are other great shows on MPN to help your business? Hennika Watkins-Porter hosts The Entrepreneurial You, empowering entrepreneurs with insights on leadership, business, and success. Hennika, tell listeners what to expect from your show.
So we provide innovative business strategies and practical solutions to common entrepreneurial challenges.
And where can people subscribe?
Find us at hennikawatkinsporter.com, as well as the Marketing Podcast Network at marketingpodcasts.net, or search for it wherever you get your podcasts.
You heard her. Go subscribe. This podcast is heard along the Marketing Podcast Network. For more great marketing podcasts, visit marketingpodcasts.net.